Welcome back to my series on essential survival knots. These are knots that have their place in the wilderness but are also very useful for everyday purposes. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a marlinspike hitch, how to make the marlinspike if you don't carry one on you, as well as how you can use the knot for many different purposes in different ways. I'm Clarice, welcome to the Live Ready channel. Hello. As the name implies, you've got to actually have a spike. It's pretty much like a toggle. The difference between a marlinspike and your average toggle is basically just that it's got one sharp end. Now, I don't have one with me, so I'm going to make one shortly, but let me show you the start of this knot first. So if you watched the first video in this series, I showed how to make an end of the line bowline. It's really simple to do, and I'm going to make a running bowline out of this. So I've got a tree, and what marlinspike hitches are usually used for in bushcraft is to basically hang your gear. The reason why we like to hang our gear is because if we leave it on the ground, all of the insects, the creepy crawlies, things like scorpions love to climb into your bag, snakes as well. Especially if you've set up a camp and you've taken your boots off, you chuck them in your bag. Now there's a nice warm boot inside your bag, so obviously everything that seeks warmth also crawls into your bag. There are less of those creepy crawlies in the trees, and also if you lift your bag off of the ground, it's not as likely to get wet. You can also lift it really high off the ground if you're storing food in it that you don't want some of the creatures on the ground to get to. So there are lots of reasons why we want to hang things off the ground, but one of the main reasons is if you're carrying a heavy backpack, to pick it up off the ground, put it down again, bend down all the time to dig and rummage through your bag, just gets a bit much at camp. So if you hang your bag at like eye level or where it's easy to reach, then there is an ergonomic consideration to hanging your gear off the ground. All right, so I'm going to use this end of the line bowline to just make a running bowline. So I'm just basically pulling the working end through the standing end, which has got the knot in it. Okay, and I'm gonna let it sit here for a moment while I make a marlinspike. So like I said, a marlinspike is basically the same as a toggle. You just want one sharp end to it. For today's purpose, I'm just going to use a branch from a pine tree. I think it's a nice way to, I'm just doing a rose cut here. I think it's a nice way to keep a bit of fat wood as backup as well. You can always sacrifice your marlinspike for a bit of fat wood if you run out of fire starters. So pine's great for that. So a rose cut can also be called a beaver chew cut because you just work your way all the way around until your branch comes free. And then it looks something like that. Okay, now I'm just going to chamfer off that edge because I don't want both ends to be sharp. And if you have enough time, you can make yourself a nice little hole through it like you would a toggle. And then you can put a lanyard on it or something like that to keep it safe. Right, that's the one end. Now just to sharpen off this end over here, I'm going to remove the bark just so it's nice and neat. A little bit of bushcraft today. And you can make this as long as you like, but if it's too long, then you're going to have trouble getting the loop of your bag over it. Okay, so that's looking relatively neat. Now I can turn it around, and then I can do my rose cut this way again. With that. Right, now I've got a nice neat end on the one side, and I just want to sharpen this off. And neaten that out. If you've got a bit of sandpaper or some sand around, you can use that to make that nice and neat. Sometimes pine can be a little sticky, but that's okay. Now we've officially got a marlinspike. I can taper this a little bit more. The idea is that you taper this enough for it to easily fit through the loop in a piece of rope, But in this case, because we're just using paracord and we're just going to do the loop itself as we like it, it doesn't need to be particularly thin. Okay, chamfering off the end just kind of makes that there isn't a sharp edge that's going to fray your ropes, and it also prevents it from splitting. There we go. For the purpose of this video, I'm quite happy with that, and I'm just going to use this now to set up my Marlinspike hitch. Now, to make the hitch, I'm going to take my cord that's sitting on the tree, and this end of the line bowline is going to hold because it's tensioning on itself, which is what we like in survival knots. We like them to tension on themselves, and we like them to be able to come undone really easily. So I'm going to make a roller coaster loop, just an overhand loop, with the working end sitting in front of the standing end, which is attached to the tree. Now I'm going to fold my loop upwards, okay, towards my standing end, and I'm going to pull the standing end through that loop. Okay, and you can see over here my knot is starting to form. It's important for the knot to be at the bottom because otherwise your spike is just going to drop to the ground. Okay, now I've got this from the side, and all I need to do is put my Marlinspike into that and pull taut. So now I've got a toggle, which you can just use a normal stick from the ground if you like, or a spoon or anything that you can find that will sit there, and that is now sitting on my line. So if I wanted to hang my gear from the ground, by the way, there's actually a piece of paracord that is attached to my bag, and it lives there because I can at any point then attach it to a tree just using a Marlinspike hitch. Come on, Clarice, upper limb strength. So then I just feed my bag's loop over the Marlinspike, and now I can hang my gear from the ground, and it's so quick to do. And now I've got easy access to the stuff that's in my bag, so I don't have to rummage through it while it's lying on the floor. Also, it keeps most of the ants and stuff out as well. Okay, so this is one way in which you can use a Marlinspike, but there is another way. So if I undo my bag here, if I come around the second tree, I can do a quick trucker's hitch, and if you haven't seen the video that I made on trucker's hitches, go and check that out. It's probably one of the most useful knots that you can know for anything, for like everyday use, for tying stuff onto your vehicle, for tying up tarps and things like that, because you can tension it so much. All right, so for me to do a trucker's hitch, I'm going to do a little loop over here, pull it through, feed my line through there, sort of make it equal. Tension on that. Okay, and a little safety over it. Okay, so I've set up a trucker's hitch on that side. So now I can really put tension on this line, all right? And I can trust that this line is going to stay. I could have made it more taut, but it's fine. But now I've got a Marlinspike sitting on a horizontal line. So for example, if I was setting up a ridge line and I wanted to connect a tarp to it, or I wanted to hang some of my camp tools or implements from that line, it's really cool to just put a couple of toggles or Marlinspikes on the line, and then you can easily hang your gear from it, or you can attach your tarp to it, or anything like that. So it doesn't have to be a vertical exercise. You can actually just use it in horizontal. And in the same way, I can still attach my bag to it. So really something useful to know how to do. I really like doing this. I prefer to hang my bag from a Marlinspike than I do hanging it from a branch. Branches can be abrasive to your gear, and then I also have the option of putting it wherever I like to put it. So that's it for Marlinspike hitches. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to hit like and subscribe. Follow me on social media. I post a bit more of the everyday live ready stuff on Instagram. And until the next time, live ready.